Moire, lenticulars, and illusions that change when you move. Imagine standing in a room where walls stretch and shrink depending on where you're standing, or staring at a dinosaur toy that seems to turn its head and follow you across the room. Now picture a painting that appears to be three-dimensional, but when you shift your position, the world flips upside down and inside out. These are not magic tricks, but carefully engineered illusions that come alive with motion. Illusions that change when you move. From the strange elegance of Moire patterns to the playful energy of lenticular images, and the mind-bending power of retrospectives and shadow sculptures. These illusions have fascinated scientists, artists, and everyday people for decades. Let's dive into the mesmerizing universe where physics, psychology, and art collide. Let's begin with illusions that seem to watch you back as you move. Hollow faces, windows, and rooms. The allure of illusions in motion. Human vision is not passive, it's active. Our brains are constantly interpreting perspective, depth, shadow, and motion. When artists and scientists manipulate these rules, they can trick our minds into seeing impossible shapes and moving images. What makes illusions that shift with movement so engaging is their demand for participation. Unlike static drawings, these illusions invite you to lean left, step right, or tilt your head. Suddenly, the world transforms before your eyes. One of the most viral examples of an illusion that changes as you move is the T-Rex illusion. At first glance, it's a simple cardboard dinosaur head. But as you step sideways, it eerily turns its head to follow you. What's happening here? The illusion is based on a hollow face principle. The head is concave rather than convex. Because our brains are so used to faces being convex, they misinterpret the geometry, making the head appear to rotate as you move. It's a perfect demonstration of how our expectations of the world can override raw visual data. In the same spirit, let's see how artists bend perspective and even shadows to transform reality. Reverse perspective and living shadows. Perhaps the most mind-bending of all are retrospectives, pioneered by artist Patrick Hughes. At first, you see a three-dimensional city street or room, but as you walk past, the perspective flips, making objects pop in and out in impossible ways. This is achieved by building outward shapes that are painted to look like they recede inward. The geometry is literally reversed, and when combined with painted perspective lines, your brain interprets the physical shape as the opposite of what it really is. Tutorials show how you can even create these illusions at home, but Hughes' large-scale works remain some of the most striking demonstrations of how motion can change reality. Not all movement-based illusions depend on perspective tricks. Some rely on light itself. Japanese artist Shigeo Fukuda became legendary for his shadow sculptures. At first glance, his sculptures look like abstract piles of junk or tangled wires. But when lit from the right angle, the shadows form perfectly clear images: a musician, a bicycle, or a face. As you walk around these sculptures, the shadow transforms, showing entirely new scenes depending on the angle of the light and the position of the viewer. Another familiar motion-based illusion is the lenticular print. You've probably seen these on postcards or collectible cards, an image that changes as you tilt it. The technology uses a plastic sheet with tiny lenses, lenticles, that refract light differently depending on your angle. Behind the lens are multiple interlaced images, so as you move, your eyes are fed different frames. This can create simple flip effects, morphing images, or even short animations. A related technique is scanimation or barrier grid animation. Here, a striped plastic overlay is slid across a layered image. As it moves, hidden frames are revealed in sequence, creating the illusion of motion. Hands-on demos often use classic photographic sequences like Edward Muybridge's galloping horse frames. As the striped grid passes over the image, the horse begins to run. The principle is simple: block part of the image, then reveal it progressively, but the result feels magical. Moire patterns, when lines create motion. Perhaps the most enchanting motion illusions are created not by 3D tricks, but by overlapping patterns. Moire patterns occur when two grids of lines or dots are layered at slight angles or offsets. The interference creates new shapes and waves that appear to shimmer or move as you shift your perspective. Parallax barriers and early 3D screens. A related invention is the parallax barrier, a method used to create glasses-free 3D effects. Here, a screen is overlaid with a fine grid of opaque and transparent lines. Each eye sees a slightly different image depending on the viewing angle, tricking the brain into perceiving depth. DIY enthusiasts have even made their own parallax barriers at home, such as the DIY Auto Stereo 3D Test 5, demonstrating that with careful alignment, you can turn an ordinary monitor into a rudimentary 3D display. This principle is at the heart of early autostereoscopic 3D screens, long before virtual reality became mainstream. One of the simplest yet most mesmerizing illusions of motion is the Moire pattern. Take two sheets of parallel lines and place them on top of each other. As you slide or rotate one sheet, complex patterns emerge and appear to dance across the surface. What's fascinating is that the movement is entirely in your perception. The lines themselves remain still. The classic educational demo by Mr. Wizard, called "What Are Moire Patterns?" explains how overlapping line interference tricks our eyes into perceiving flowing motion. Similarly, the demonstration Moire patterns, moving lines, shows in clear detail how shifting grids generate waves, ripples, and hypnotic shifting shapes. Today, designers use Moire effects in textiles, architecture, and even security printing, harnessing that eye-catching shimmer. These illusions aren't just for fun. They have practical applications. In Iceland, a 3D floating pedestrian crossing was painted in Isafjordur. From a distance, it appears as solid white blocks hovering above the road, forcing drivers to slow down as if they're about to hit a barrier. It's a brilliant safety measure built on perspective manipulation. Similarly, while lenticular technology has been applied in advertising, creating billboards that reveal different images depending on where you view them. Even modern smartphone screens experiment with lenticular or parallax techniques to create depth without glasses. Why illusions that shift with motion fascinate us? At the heart of all these illusions is one idea. Movement reveals truth. Our perception is not fixed, it's dynamic. When artists and scientists design illusions that change as you move, they're highlighting just how active and fragile our sense of reality is. The Ames Rooms shows how our assumptions about geometry can deceive us. Patrick Hughes' retrospectives prove that depth can be inverted. Shigeo Fukuda's sculptures remind us that shadows are as real as objects, and Moire patterns demonstrate the beauty hidden in interference. These illusions captivate us because they transform our role from passive viewers to active participants. Step into the world of moving illusions. So the next time you see a lenticular card shift in your hands, or notice a Moire pattern dance across your screen, take a moment to appreciate the centuries of curiosity and creativity behind it. Illusions like the T-Rex head, Ames window, retrospectives, and shadow sculptures remind us that reality is not always as solid as it seems. What we see depends on where we stand, how we move, and what our brains expect. These illusions aren't just tricks, they're windows into the mysteries of perception. And who knows, maybe after exploring these wonders, you'll be inspired to create your own illusion, one that transforms the world every time someone takes a step.